Guys, welcome to another exciting episode on Pious Football, where I bring you the latest in transfer news. We discuss tactical analysis of games going into the new preseason, the new season, and also we discuss pertinent. We do an in-depth analysis of pertinent issues around football that you don't hear on the mainstream European market. Now, the video you just watched is a movie that was released in 1915. Titled Birth of a Nation. I'll talk about that very soon, but let me introduce this episode. This episode is a special one. I want to talk about rape accusations against black athletes. Now, case in point is Benjamin Mendy. You are familiar with the case of Benjamin Mendy. I mean, if you follow football and you are a follower of my episodes, you know that we talk about football on this episode. Benjamin Mendy was accused of rape 2 years ago, in February of 2020, I think. Yeah, 2021, sorry. And following that accusation, he was suspended by Manchester City, and then he went to trial. A lot of us believed that he actually raped the woman. I mean, several women. I mean, if several women are coming out accusing you of rape, it must be true. I think there were 4 of them, 3 or 4 of them, and each one of them, accused him of rape. Some accused him of sexual assault. Others accused him of attempted rape. It seemed to be a very coordinated attempt to try and, siphon this guy from all indications. Now, I'm making this video as in response to the quiet treatment that we've all, seen concerning how things are going on after, he was acquitted. Now, mind you, the rape charges are 10 counts of rape. 10 counts of rape were leveled against him. 1 attempted rape charge, and then 1 sexual assault charge. Now, during the whole process, he was suspended by Man City, and when he was acquitted, he had already been released by Manchester City. Luckily for him, he got a club in FC Lorient in France. He signed a 3-year contract. So he's back to playing football. But my problem is that everyone has moved on quickly. We have forgotten the woman who, leveled these charges against him. We still think there are people who still believe that he's guilty, even though a competent court in the United Kingdom has acquitted him of rape, charges. Now, the first breakthrough for him occurred in January of this year, when 6 counts of rape were dismissed against him by the Chester Crown Court in Manchester. The jurors, now those of you who are not familiar with law courts, the jurors are people that are selected. They nominate themselves for the case. They advertise the case. They nominate themselves, if I'm right, and then the both lawyers or the advocates of both the accuser and the accused pick out the ones that they want to represent the as jury, and then they go to trial. So in the first case, where 6 counts of rape against Mendy was thrown out, there were six men and 4 women, I think. Yeah. And they threw out those accusations after the evidence, looking at the evidence and everything. And then the latest case, which was so it was 10 counts of rape. So the rest of the counts of rape, and then the sexual assaults, and then the attempted rape charges were dealt with just recently, that we know of. And then all the counts were actually dismissed based on evidence. Okay, based on evidence that was observed by the court. And the jurors in that case were 5 men, 5 women. And so if this has happened, I don't think that anybody should hold any doubt in their mind that Benjamin Mendy was actually guilty of rape. Now, there was this organization in the UK that came out with a response. I mean, Vinicius Jr. and Memphis Depay came out with statements trying to support Benjamin Mendy and try to put out a sort of thought process into the public that what happens to the women. I mean, the women who falsely accused him of rape, should they face some sort of punishment? What is the psychological state of Benjamin Mendy right now? I mean, he's been damaged for 2 years. His career, his reputation has been destroyed. What happens to him? Now, what about that? Can we address that? And then this organization in the UK, I don't remember their name. They came out and they said that these guys are they didn't call them rape apologists, but they stopped short of calling them that, because from the response that they came with, it looks like they are not supposed to believe Benjamin Mendy, even though the court has acquitted him of rape charges. And that was really upset to me, that we are still inclined to force the belief that black athletes are rapists and they are violent on the public. But that is what has, caused me to do this special edition, or this special episode, to try and understand, to make you understand why you, who is watching this episode right now with me, believed Benjamin Mendy was a rapist, why you believed that Neymar was a rapist, why you believed that Thomas Partey was a rapist, why you believed that Kobe Bryant was a rapist, and why you believe that countless other black athletes, especially in the United States and the United Kingdom, are rapists and they are violent. Now, what is the genesis of this stereotype? Now, that is what this episode seeks to address, and I will use, of course, Benjamin Mendy is my case study, but I'll build a background with one special movie that was released in 1915. Now, in 1915, a man by the name of D. Griffin, who was a filmmaker, released a very powerful a movie called The Birth of a Nation. Now, some of you have heard about this movie, some of you haven't. It was released in 1915 in the US. This movie basically is a movie that is a racist movie done by a racist to try and push the agenda that if blacks are allowed to vote, if blacks are allowed to stand for office, what will happen to the United States? So they sort of push this racist, untrue stereotypes that people held at the time. They picked on all the various stereotypes around racism against black people, and then they pushed it into a movie, and they made an argument that this is what will happen. Now, mind you, W.D. Griffin is actually coming from a very racist family. His father was a general in the Confederate Army in the American Civil War. He's a man from the South. He is a man from the South, and those of you who are familiar with the Civil War in the U.S., North and South. I mean, the North were, fighting for black liberation, and the South were fighting for segregation and continued use of blacks as slave labor. So basically, that was the world that Griffin was coming from, was a world where they felt that the black man should be limited, the black man should be held as a slave and should not be allowed into the public sphere to engage in civil activities. Now, back on the back of this movie that you watched, the excerpts of the movie that you watched is part of the excerpts that I want to use to stress my argument this morning. That, if you watch the excerpts, you can see a black man trying to rape a white woman, and apparently he decided to cut her, and when she decided to say no to a black man, the black man decided to be violent and try to force himself on her and rape her. Now, rather than for the white lady to allow herself to be raped by a black man, she decided to jump off a cliff. Now, those of you who have watched the movie, now if you keep watching, you will see that the black man was eventually arrested by the Ku Klux Klan. Those of you who don't know the KKK, I mean, they are called the KKK. They are a racist organization who believe in the ideology of white supremacy in the United States, and I think some of them are scattered across the globe. And they proceed to lynch this black man for attempting to rape a white woman. Now, in the years after this movie, now especially in that year 1915, they went on a nationwide tour in the US and also in some parts of Europe. Now, the movie was so popular, it was actually shown in the White House. Now, Woodrow Wilson was then president. It was shown in the White House. Now, mind you, in those days, the movie was a masterpiece. It reflected the ideals of the people at the time. Majority of the average Americans, felt comfortable with the narratives that were pushed in that movie. Now, what I'm trying to say here is that the movie not only influenced how movie was made because it was a masterpiece in general, but it also influenced a generation of hate, a generational hate, a stereotypical hate against black people, black athletes in general. Why? Because at the time, black athletes were seen as a sort of a light in the dark tunnel for the black race. Now, black people who were athletes are successful. They have money. They can afford things that a lot of white people dream about. And so the target on black athletes by white women was easy to orchestrate, because the stereotype was already there that a black man was violent and a black man was a rapist. Now, mind you, a lot of people were lynched. I think about 700, according to history, 700 black people were lynched in the US in 1915. After the release of that movie. Now, there is, I think, a lot of research has been done about that movie. One famous one done by a Harvard guy, a guy who was doing his master's in Harvard, called Ang or something like that. He did a study on the effects or the impact of the birth of a nation on generational hate of black people, and it was really interesting. Now, some of the findings showed that where they went on tour, the movie went on tour in various states in the United States. Now, the various counties and the states where they went on tour, the research showed that there were a lot more number of KKK chapters in those states than the states that the movie was not actually shown. Okay, there were several findings from the research that was done, but I just want to use this to enforce the fact that the movie had a great impact on the psychological makeup of people, especially white people, and it sort of forced this untrue stereotype of black men on the public. Now, it was already existent. Now, mind you, I said a stereotype. Stereotypes are built on existing innuendos. Now, stereotypes, the stereotype was already there. The movie, the genius of the movie is that it enforced this stereotype. Now, how does that relate to football? Now, you remember, like I said, now we know that black people, especially black men, are susceptible to this kind of crimes from women, because they know that psychologically society has already been programmed to believe them. Okay, so if you are a woman and you want to make money, quick cash, and you are into the high life, and you follow this athletes around, the easiest way to make quick cash is to try and blackmail them into paying you money to avoid going to court if you accuse them of rape. It is the easiest way to make cash. Now, this sort of behavior is very well, let's say, documented. It's documented. Several black athletes, you can go and do your own checks. I'll mention just a few. Kobe Bryant, we know Kobe Bryant. In 2003, he was accused of rape by a hotel attendant. He settled the matter out of court. Of course, he has a bright future ahead of him. 19-year-old Kobe Bryant has a future. He's not willing to go to court and risk, being taken to jail for rape. So he settled an out of court settlement, and the lady got what she wanted. Obviously, she was paid off, and then the matter went dead. Also, we know about the issue of with this guy, what do you call him, Neymar. In 2019, a Brazilian model accused Neymar of rape. Now, of course, she posted some sort of videos to try and create the impression that she was actually being raped. Unfortunately for her, Neymar called her bluff. He decided not to pay her off. They went to court. The evidence was presented, and apparently Neymar had a camera in his hotel room, and the camera actually proved that the lady was actually lying about the fact that Neymar tried to rape her. And so she confessed in court, in the Brazilian court, that she actually tried to blackmail Neymar, into giving her money. Now, this is not a peculiar case. That, like I said, it's been happening. They know that if you accuse a black athlete of rape, the society will believe you, because there is a stereotype out there that has been drummed into our psychology that black men are violent, black men are rapists. Now, you can remember that also the famous case of Brian Banks. Now, Brian Banks was actually a 19-year-old college football athlete, promising future ahead of him, accused of rape. I mean, he went to jail. Later, the lady, recanted her statement and said that she was trying to get his attention, and he rebuffed her, and that is why she accused the guy of rape. Now, prior to that, the guy was going to, the big leagues in the the NFL. And those of you who are, who have watched that movie, I think it's available on Netflix, Brian Banks. It's a movie that was released in 2018. It tells the life story of this college black athlete who went to jail for such a heinous crime. Now, also we have the case of Hakimi. I mean, you all remember Hakimi this year. This lady claims that Hakimi, tried to rape her. Apparently, she tried to get money from Hakimi, and Hakimi wouldn't budge. And so she went to the police and tried to make a case of rape. Then she later decided not to follow up with the case. Obviously she knew that if you accuse someone of rape, you have to. There is evidence that needs to be collected to prove that the person actually raped you, and she didn't have those evidence to present. And so, I mean. But we all know the story. Everybody believed that Hakimi raped him. A lot of us believed that Hakimi actually raped or tried to rape the girl. But we know that it is one of those blackmail tactics. Now, also, drumming it home, we know of the case of Thomas Partey. I mean, this guy had a Moroccan girlfriend. They are not going out anymore. And apparently, this ex somehow lured, Partey to his... to her place in Morocco, and then afterwards she accused Partey of rape. I'm sure that the case went to court. The case didn't go to court because there was a technicality involved that was used to dismiss the case. The case was dismissed by the UK court system, but we know that a lot of these women just want the money. They just want the money. Now also there are several other cases. You remember a lot of just recently Anthony's Brazilian girlfriend just came out with information that Anthony abused her, blah blah blah, and a whole lot. So this is documented, a documented history of rape accusations against black athletes as a form of blackmail. Okay, it has been happening just recently with the case of Benjamin Mendy, zoning in on Benjamin Mendy. There was this incident in court, in one of those court hearings, where a policeman who was supposed to be part of the prosecution team called to the stand, actually testified and gave evidence that one of the rape accusers of Benjamin Mendy, before she started to write her statement down to accuse Benjamin Mendy of rape, she Googled the net worth of Benjamin Mendy to find out how much he was worth before she started writing down her statement. She went to the police station, accused Benjamin Mendy of rape. She was told to write a statement. She pulled out her phone. According to the policeman, she pulled out her phone. She Googled Benjamin Mendy net worth, and she looked at figures on her screen before she started putting down her statement. Now, it is interesting that they know exactly what to do. Now, this case against Hakimi, the lady went to the police, then decided not to write a statement. She refused to write a statement. Why did she do that? What pushes this woman to do these things that they do? Because they know that society will believe them. That they know that society has been, drummed and, psychoanalyzed and, programmed to believe in the fact that every time a man is accused of rape, it is probably because he did it. Especially if he is a black man. Especially if he is an athlete. Because athletes are, and it shows in the prosecution statement against Benjamin Mendy. They said, according to them, that Benjamin Mendy feels like he's famous, he's rich, and so he can get away with everything that he wants. What this first short of saying was that Benjamin Mendy is a black man who is capable of violence and rape. Now what we know is that Benjamin Mendy is moving on. But the psychological impact of his challenge, we don't know what will happen. A lot of black athletes are still, in jail. Some of them's career have been destroyed. But the women who did this have been, you rarely hear of a woman accusing a black athlete of rape actually going to jail, except for one instance where in the United States there was this case of a woman who accused a black athlete of rape. Later, she came out and it was exposed in court that she was lying. She tried to blackmail the gentleman, and the gentleman wouldn't budge, and so she made a police case and they went to court, and then evidence showed that she was lying. She came out to plead with the court to forgive her. She confessed, and she was actually jailed for a year. She was jailed for a year for making a false rape accusation. So my episode is just to say that let's not be quick to believe rape accusations against rich black athletes. Okay, rich black athletes. Why is it that they don't make cases against the poor people? Why is it that it's always people who are rich? Every time it is the rich people who are black who are raping women, and that is my argument, that there is a systematic attempt by these women to make quick cash by using the stereotype of the angry, violent, rapist black man, against black athletes. And my word of advice to these athletes, if any of them care to hear, any of them care to stumble on, this episode, is that they should watch their lives well. The kind of circle that they move around with, the football circles, the night clubbing, the nightlife, the kind of women they move around with. Once all they need is for you to agree to have consensual sex with them. All they need is to have your sperm in them, and they have their evidence. They can anything else. They can they can just make up. Once they have that body evidence of your sperms in them, that is all they need, and that is their proof that you raped them. So I mean, it's an advice to young black athletes, footballers coming up. Thomas Partey's case was very unique because it was the first time that we are having a black Ghanaian athlete actually being accused of rape. It was really surreal for some of us that Thomas Partey could actually rape someone. But we know from the precedent that has been set that this Moroccan woman was out to get some cash before Partey moves on, because he was leaving her, which was kind of interesting. Because a lot of these black athletes also like going out with white women for whatever reason. So that is it. That is what I want to talk about. I hope that I made some very important points, and then you can, if you disagree with me, if you have your own opinions, the comment section is there for you to voice out your opinion. Another thing I want to conclude with is the fact that the transfer market is still open. Transfers are still going on. The big news coming in is that Jasko Vardiol has been signed by Manchester City for somewhere around 120 million euros. The price hasn't really been released yet, but this is from back page information that I am getting. That makes him the highest, the most expensive defender in the history of football. Then I'm sure that the rumors, the banter around Harry Maguire will now stop, because he's now not the most expensive defender anymore. And also that move from Man City, another move from Man City is that the deal, remember I told you earlier before that the deal for this guy, the Algerian winger in Man City, Riyad Mahrez, to Al Ahly has been completed. 30 million euros plus 5 million in add-ons. That move has been completed. Also, another big news coming in the Premier League is the Newcastle have signed Harvey Barnes from Leicester City for a price around 32 million pounds. So Harvey Barnes to Newcastle is complete, 32 million pounds. Now that move has also meant that the winger, the French winger, Alain Saint-Maximin of Newcastle has now moved to Al Ahly. He's moved to Al Ahly, the same club that bought Mahrez in Saudi Arabia. Al Ahly have also signed Saint-Maximin for somewhere around 25 million euros. So yeah, another deal done over there. And also I think Bruno Fernandes has been confirmed to be captain of Manchester United. We know that when the meeting happened between Maguire and Ten Hag, this was going to happen. Bruno Fernandes has already captained the team several times last season, so it wasn't really a shock to know, or for the announcement that Bruno Fernandes is now the captain of Manchester United. Other news that I want to talk about is that I think one thing that I think we can talk about, Ryan Cherki is a Lyon midfielder, very talented. Some people call him a generational talent. Ryan Cherki is in the news. Remember, he's a target for Chelsea, but now Manchester City have come into the race trying to sign him. So Ryan Cherki, will he move to City or will he go to Chelsea? He's a Lyon midfielder. Will he stay at Lyon or will he move? Looks like he will move, but let's see which team in the EPL that he will be moving to. And also, the search for midfielder by Liverpool is still ongoing. Remember, I told you in my earlier episode that Sheikh Doucouré of Crystal Palace is a target for Liverpool. They are looking at several targets. So let's see. As time goes on, I'll bring you the updates on Liverpool's midfielder search. They are definitely going to buy one or two midfielders before the season also closes. Now, Manchester United have also submitted a bid to Atlanta for Rasmus Højlund. Their coach came out the other day with some outrageous quotes about the player costing 80 million, 90 million, 100 million, which is absolutely rubbish. Manchester United will negotiate for a deal somewhere around 60 million euros. So fingers crossed on that deal. Let's see how that also goes. And then finally, I want to talk about the fact that Thomas Partey is back. Remember, Arsenal wanted to sell him to Saudi Arabia. He was not really interested in that move. But there were discussions that if the move to Saudi doesn't materialize, he should come back to preseason. So I mean, he returned to preseason in the United States with Emil Smith Rowe, the way forward for the teams and how they are being shaped in, to start the new season. So thank you very much for staying with me for this episode. Bye.